Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have gotten myself a coffee. It's already cold because I filmed this video so many times, and I just wanted to discuss the question that popped into my YouTube feed through the Personal Philosophy Project, a channel that I absolutely love. I find everything what Cynthia puts online very interesting. It's giving me food for thought, and actually the question was, is reselling ethical? And that is a question that has popped into my mind a lot when I go to the thrift store. Sometimes when I bring home a lot of clothes, I sometimes think, have I robbed somebody else of getting decent clothes? Cynthia said, like, people in poverty cannot get nice clothes anymore, and through all these resellers the price of vintage goes up significantly. So these are two topics I just want to talk about, and I think I can do it because I am a social worker for more than 20 years. I have worked with a lot of people in difficult financial situations. I don't want to use the term poor that much because I feel like it's really stigmatizing and it doesn't have to do anything with the person, and there are so many facets of poverty. Anyway, so the first question was the price. I'm just going to start with the prices of vintage going up. First of all, vintage and reselling contemporary brands are different things. I have had a vintage shop for more than 10 years. I did markets, and primarily I source 70s clothes. So I feel like I can ask a bit for my 70s clothes because it's already old, and you won't find original 70s clothes so easily anymore 10 years from now. You will find new 70s clothes because it's really on trend right now in the fashion houses. So that style will still stay there, but really originally handmade 70s dresses, at home handmade dresses, or 60s dresses with an iron zipper, it will get harder. So I feel like if I ask a reasonable price, it is reasonable. So it depends of what kind of vintage. If you're selling Y2K vintage or 90s vintage, a lot of that stuff is already mass produced in China, and it's all over the place, and it will be all over the place for a long time. So I don't find it I don't think it's justified to really ask a high price. Now, Cynthia said, like, a lot of people, resellers on Depop, they search charity shops and thrift shops, and people won't find good, nice clothes anymore. I want to say that most full-time resellers on Depop, if you're selling like 90s t-shirts or 80s t-shirts or some kind of thing like that, the chances are that they are just ordering from a vintage wholesale business somewhere are very, very high. Because if you're a full-time reseller and you're for instance making 15 euros per t-shirt on a t-shirt, that's not a lot. You have to sell a lot. So it's not like on Etsy that you have like specified 70s dresses and you ask 98 euros for that dress, and you can sell a little bit less and you can have a smaller shop. If you're only making 10 euros per t-shirt, you will have to sell a lot. So I don't think it's doable, and I don't think I wouldn't be able to do it. I live near Brussels, and I go to all little independent shops with shop owners, and I stay in the local shops by buying there, and I can do it, and I can bring home a lot of vintage stuff because there are so many vintage shops in Brussels. I live near the capital of Europe, 10 minutes drive from the capital of Europe, so that's where I get the most of my vintage stuff. But if you're a wholesaler, like, even I couldn't find 80s t-shirts because t-shirts are cotton. There are a lot of flaws in it. It's not like 70s dresses. A lot of 70s dresses are synthetic, so they last good, but it's not possible. a lot of those people just order wholesale from a wholesale seller. They're not sourcing every day in thrift stores if they are selling full time, if they want to make a life full time. Then the other thing is that people in poverty wouldn't get nice things because I'm sourcing at a thrift store. I've started reselling brands because I have a lot of bills to pay. I still have to get out of debt. And I discovered Vinted. It hasn't been in Belgium for a long time. I was buying on Vinted. And I am also selling my own clothes on Vinted. And occasionally when I go to the thrift store where I buy mostly for myself, I will come across brands that are worth a lot more than what's in the thrift store, because I know these brands because I've been reading Elle magazine since I was 10 years old, Vogue, so I have like 30 years of fashion history stored in my brain. Also, I like to go to Brussels. I see what kind of brands are there and what they price them for. So for instance, I found a Comptoir des Cotonniers dress in the thrift store for €8. It wasn't my size, it wasn't my style, but I picked it up anyway because I thought somebody else can benefit from this, because those dresses are €175 for instance, and I sold it at 28 at the platform. So I would definitely be somebody that would buy somebody's dress of Comptoir des Cotonniers on Vinted if it was my size and my style, and I would really be happy that I got that brand and that nice dress for such a low price. So I feel like everybody wins. I took my time and my energy to the thrift store. I also went there primarily for me. By accident, I did find a cotonnier dress, but I don't think that I robbed somebody from the fact of having a Comptoir des Cotonniers dress, because most of the people I worked with are in generational poverty. They had depression or alcoholism, or they are just mentally not capable of running a normal life because they were born that way, like what we do every day, or getting a decent job, or they have an immigration background. So they don't care one bit about that French brand. Also, I want to say, I live in Belgium. We gravitate, well, the social circle where I'm at do gravitate more towards the French brands, because we are a very small country. We're not so proud of our country as the French. The French tend to buy their own stuff at their own boutiques and buy the French brands, which is great. But because we're a neighboring country and Brussels is primarily French, we do have that French culture a little bit, and it also comes in through the fashion brands that are selling. Of course, fashion is primarily French and Italian. It's known for that. So the French brands are also something that we would buy. So in Brussels you will find a lot of French boutiques, French owned brands. And so I know those brands, but somebody in poverty, they don't care about Comptoir des Cotonniers. They don't know the brand. They don't care about the brand. They are thinking of paying the bills and paying the electricity and paying the school bills for the kids. And primarily the people I worked with, they are trying to fit in. And so they're not, unless you are a poor student, or you are like Cynthia, living on, she was living on a tight budget before and buying just thrifted clothes. But people in poverty, they don't want you to know that those clothes are thrifted. They want to be outside with the Nike logo, with the nice shoes. They just want to fit in, especially people with an immigration background. They go out looking pristine. They're not going to wear a granny's sweatshirt. They're not going to wear a long 70s dress like they got it from somebody and it's fifth hand or something. Even if it's a beautiful bohemian dress, they won't do that. They will rather they would like to buy something from Primark or Zara and make it seem like they fit completely in, there's nothing to look at, and they have everything under control. Because it is, not having money is a stigma, so not everybody is, I feel like if you're wearing vintage or secondhand clothes, it is in a way a little bit elitist, even though you can get it for very, very cheap. I don't know how to explain it, but it is a little bit elitist because you're not really feeling so bad about yourself and your financial situation, and not everything, all you actually want to do is fit into this society. That's actually the mind frame of, I feel like, somebody that is in poverty in some way. So there's a lot of different poverties, but let's talk about financial poverty. We're talking about financial poverty here. So yeah, I have never thought about it that way. Then the sustainability aspect, I feel like it is still very sustainable because all these resellers are offering to other people a platform by offering their clothes on the internet. They are offering people to buy secondhand. Whereas otherwise, for instance, France and Spain, they are really big countries. There are really little villages where you have to drive an hour or half an hour to get to a nice city or a nice place where there are different stores. So people would buy on the internet from H&M and Zara. Now they have much more choice to buy on Vinted for even less than Zara and H&M, to buy on eBay for less than H&M. They're actually sponsoring an individual or a local business, and otherwise they would be sponsoring a big company, and they get the chance to choose secondhand items on a much larger scale. Also, those wholesale businesses, they collect dumps from everybody else and they select it into piles to be resold to these vintage sellers. So that's another part of the chain. But they also have a lot of things they can do anything so a lot of those clothes still go to the landfills. If I go to the thrift store, if things aren't sold, a lot of things still go to charity and also to the landfill. So if I pick up a dress and I offer it on a much wider platform, a lot more people that see it, because that girl from France that bought my Comptoir de Cotonnier dress, she's not here in Belgium to pick it up. So I give, and all the other resellers give people a much wider variety, especially in France. There are so many people living on the countryside and they have to drive really far to get to a decent store, a really fashionable store, but they also want to look fashionable. So it's nice that there is something like Vinted, it's nice that there is something like eBay, and it's nice that there are so many local vintage shops. Also here in Brussels there's a lot of shops. You can pick your stuff by the kilo, but those independent shop owners still make money off of the price that I pay for a kilo because they bought it wholesale. And that's what a lot of Depop sellers do. They don't spend their time in charity shops robbing people from having a chance, having a decent set of clothes that they probably don't want. They don't want to go out with a grandpa sweater. So that's my take on ethical fashion. Actually, I was disturbed in my previous video that I was trying to make with a package. I bought some beauty products recently because I've been suffering from acne. If you want me to do a video on the beauty products I recently bought, because I did a beauty products video saying that I didn't buy beauty for a year and I was living with the minimal stuff, and actually I broke that rule a little bit because of my severe acne problems I've been having lately. So if you want me to do a video on what I have bought recently, which is mostly like retinol products, I have to be honest, comment in the comment section below. If you want to join the discussion on the ethical reselling businesses, the ethical side of reselling or not so ethical side of reselling, there's also place in the comments below to talk about it. I hope it clarified a little bit about reselling and vintage, and we will see each other next week for a new video. Bye.